Is a light coming through? I'm asking this. I'm asking myself this question all the time. You bet. You better not. You better not. No. No. I told you about that. No, I don't play that. No, I told you. Wagging your tail. She's a little. She's a little hot. Got the heater on. She refuses to go lay down by herself. So she's panting. Some nice cool water in the other room. I told you about that. Watch out now. Watch out now. Cut it out. Cut it out. No, no, I told don't you do it. Don't you do it. Come on. Great. Yeah, I guess this is a review with me and my dog. So I'm gonna be reviewing I'm gonna be reviewing Breaking Bad, season 2, episode 10. This episode, you get to see all the characters that you've come to love. Well, I've come to love, or you've come to, whatever. You get to see all the characters that you've that you've grown some type of affection towards. Um, yeah, this is an episode. This is like a setup episode, basically. So it's a transitional. It's a setup transitional type thing that's going on, especially with Mr. White's character. He's taking a turn. He's walking on. He's walking hand in hand with the devil right now. He's taking a turn onto the wild side, and of course, I shouldn't say of course, but Pinkman. I hate to. I know this is purely for entertainment, but hitting a little close to home with Pinkman's situation here. Uh, he fell for his landlady. Like he fell really hard, and I think that happens to the best of us. He was under the impression that what they were doing was something more. She was like, but of course in her head it's like, no, it's not. So he winds up getting burned pretty bad. I'm sorry for laughing. It's funny though. He winds up getting burnt in this episode. There was an interesting scene where Mr. White decides to. He feels. I guess he feels. How should I say this? He feels like his fatherly rights are being stripped from him by his brother-in-law. Number one. Number two, he feels like he has to assert some type of dominance because he has this displaced, um, displaced rage that he needs to displaced energy that he needs to vent and put in some. Somebody has to get the smoke basically. I hate to use young people's terminology. Somebody got to get the smoke. Um, he thought he was under the impression himself that his situation was worse than what it was, but it turns out he's gonna make it. And like I just said a few moments ago, now he has displaced uh, displaced energy. So he's like renovating his house by himself. He's changing water heaters and this and that, and all the while his wife is in the background, growing further and further apart from him. And of course, this character can't see that for nothing, and she's drawn to her boss. So I'm like, oh, I was waiting. I think I had to wait like episode or two to see where her character was going to end up. I mean, I was hoping it didn't end up where I think it's going to end up, but it's looking more and more like it's going to end up with her having some type of a affair with her boss. But she's like uber pregnant right now, so I don't even know how that's going to work out. Maybe that's a thing for pregnant chicks. I don't know. Um, yeah, let me get back to the interesting scene though. So, well, as Mr. White's trying to assert himself in his house and like regain some type of ground that he believes his brother-in-law is taking from him, he gets his son to drink way more than he should be drinking, and of course he gets sick. But for the sake of a television show, everything's sped up. So he 3 big gulps of alcohol, depending on how much you've eaten, I don't think would make you vomit like he did. But the little kid winds up, he's like 16, he's not exactly a little kid. He winds up vomiting. And Mr. White just sits back down and starts and continues to sip his drink. Like yeah. But the I'm going to try to use this word, the duality of the character. Heard that word in the movie. The flip flop of this character's emotional stance is like almost unbelievable. This is the one part where it's starting to get a little wonky. I mean, one minute he's like cold face, staring you down, ready to harm somebody, and then the next minute, oh, I'm so sorry, I can't believe I did that. Oh, it's not me. I don't know what's going on. Huh? I'm really interested to see. I'm not. That kind of threw me off a little bit. That's in bad taste, I believe. I don't think that's up to what I've seen. What I've seen in past episodes and what I believe to be possible in this series. So I don't like that. I think. I went over Pinkman's heartbreak. I'm sorry, I keep laughing. It's funny. It's funny, and I think he's gonna get sucked right back into it too. So she's gonna have him on a string for who knows how many episodes. I'm trying to think here. What else happened in this episode? Oh yeah, and another thing at the end of this episode that really sitting bad with me. So he's by this time in episode, Mr. White is knee deep in this renovation of his, trying to vent off some of this the remaining of this displaced energy he has, and he runs into somebody that has familiar ingredients to make what he's making, to cook, basically to cook. And for some reason, he gives the guy advice, and he goes stand in line. I'm like, what's going on here? And he follows him outside and gets in some guy's face. The character, this person is obviously done up to be presented as a really tough character. So he has the cut off sleeves, the bald head, really menacing look, and Mr. White just stands there and stares him off. Don't get in my territory. It's so Hollywood, it's unbelievable. And it's like, it's unbelievable. That was horrible. This is actually one of the, maybe just because it's a transition episode and they had to throw a little bit of filler in there, or they're not really playing to the intellect of the audience. I think they're assuming the audience needs to have everything spelled out. Mr. White is now bad. Pinkman is a sucker for love. Mrs. White is lacking emotional support. I don't know. I don't know where this is going to go. Of course, I'm interested to see where it's going to go, but I don't know where it's going to go. Those two things threw me off in this episode. I'm hoping that it may turn up and be more. I'm pretty sure it will be. Like I said, my opinions on this particular episode, I feel like this is just a transitional episode. They're trying to create new. I'm sorry for stuttering. New paths for each of these characters to take, and you have to start somewhere. If they're going to start weak as this, I guess. Not saying the series is. I'm still enjoying the series, but this just happens to be a little bump in the road. Hoping it gets an uptake. So I'm just gonna stick with it.